Finally, we've done it. We've made it. It's the last week of school, but it's not over yet. Stay tuned. I'm Colby.
And I'm Katie, and you're listening to
What Would Teachers Say? All right, boys and girls, school is now in session. Well, I should say school is back in session. Sorry we missed y'all, and hopefully you missed us last week. We had a lot of exciting things going on. You want to tell them about it?
Yeah, we did. My brother actually graduated from medical school.
Yay.
He is now a DO, which is a doctor of osteopathy. Is that how you say it? Anyway, I don't know. He's an extremely smart individual, and he will be moving on to his residency in emergency med starting July 1st. So
Yeah,
that was
awesome.
a big weekend for him, and also Mother's Day.
Yep.
So happy belated Mother's Day to all those mothers out there.
All the mamas. So today what we wanted to do is we wanted to get into a very important topic to us as teachers, and that is the last week of school.
Whew.
We have finally made it. As of recording this, we just finished up our last week of school, which is probably another reason why we didn't quite get to, filming the podcast, recording the podcast.
Yeah, and apologies to those of you that are still in school and maybe next week is your last week or in the next few weeks. My condolences.
Yes, condolences.
To
Sorry.
you.
We'll be in mourning for you. But we just kind of wanted to start it off just in general and just say, like, from an elementary and from a high school perspective, what the last week of school kind of looks like or what it feels like. And then we're actually going to talk about the different types or the different stages that teachers go through, either mental or physical stages, or how they respond and react. And then we also want to get into like what we've seen, the different types of students that we see on the last week of school, because I think it's pretty interesting. We got about 3 for each that we want to get into. But when you think of the last week of school, and I say the last week of school in a fun and cool voice like that, what does that mean to you coming from an elementary mindset?
Babysitting.
Straight
up babysitting. We are done with testing probably 2 weeks before school actually gets out. So, any of you out there that do state testing, no matter what state you're in, as soon as you're done with that, and the kids know this too, that pretty much the year is over, because that's what culminates at the end of the year is the state testing, which unfortunately is, the biggest part of the year, even though learning shouldn't be done by that point in time, but the pressure is so there just for that one test that it is. So by the time it gets to the last week of school, you're pretty much pulling anything out of your butt to get them to focus and do and have some sort of structure. Basically for me this week, it's been herding cats.
Yeah. How many movies did y'all watch this week?
We actually didn't watch very many. I mean, I had them doing some end of the year stuff. And luckily for my school, they actually have somewhat of things for kids to do at the end. Like they have yearbook signing, which, by the way, in elementary school, I did not have a yearbook. So that's new, where they have yearbook signing. And then we do step up days, which is like going to the next grade to kind of see and tour what it's going to be like, and just different small things like that. In the district that I'm in, my prior district did nothing like that, but it's still maintaining consistent structure for those kiddos, depending on the type and the group that you have. It's basically herding cats. Let's be real.
Yeah. And we see a little bit of that too at the high school level, because although our testing is kind of near the end, it kind of falls right behind yours. So I gave my final state test, the Friday before the last week of school, but
then y'all have finals.
Yeah, we have finals. So in my non-state tested classes, so in Earth Systems, which is an academic elective, we actually have like a final that we give on the last day. And some teachers, treat this as, a final project or an actual traditional test. Uh, but for the most part, if you don't have anything prepared for these kids, like it's super squirrely,
Yeah.
and and
That's a
even
good word.
yeah, and even in the high school level, the kids get all kind of crazy. So I kind of
Especially
experienced.
seniors,
Oh
I
my
bet.
gosh, yeah. Well, the seniors were done at our school like a week early because they have to have all the grades in for seniors so they can start
Oh, that's true.
with valedictorian stuff and class rank and all that junk, so that way they can get ready for the graduation process. So that's kind of another element, but just in general, I think sometimes the last week of school, if if your school is like done with testing, like almost what's the point? Like it,
Especially the last day. I know we have a half day, the whole
yeah,
county does, and it's like by like 9 o'clock because I have my kids starting at like 7:30. Like I'm ready to pull my hair out because they want to know what were we doing? What are we doing? And the day before, I'm always like, if you come, we're gonna be cleaning, we're gonna be moving stuff. I'm not here to entertain you.
yeah, we've already
We've
that
already
ship
done
has
all
already
the
sailed.
the cool stuff that we're gonna do.
Yeah, I had a few of mine just kind of help me out a little bit with a few different things, like just cleaning up our science lab. And but other than that, like, it was just a, hey, if you show up, you show up, but like we're not doing anything. And it's just a different dynamic, especially if you don't have a final, if you already get them in earlier, because then you'll still have those kids who one of two things: they have finals in other classes, or their parents don't trust them at home by themselves. And it comes right back around to what you said. It's all about babysitting.
Okay, so let's get into the different types of teachers on the last week of school.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch, a plethora of types of teachers, but we narrowed it down to, I feel like,
Yeah, three main
three
groups.
groups of teachers you know, that describe teachers on the last week of school. So one being the overachiever.
Yeah, this is your
So the overachiever being someone that is all about the end of the year fun activities, whether
yeah,
that be projects or picking a specific description award for each of their students that they teach. Now, I'm not going to knock that because I know like early elementary kids, like kindergarten, first grade, they do that for their kiddos and they're little enough to where like they need that boost of
confidence. Yeah.
self-confidence. But like once they get to me in fifth grade, I'm like, nah, dude, you really don't want to know
Yeah, you really don't know what
what
I
I
think
think
of you.
about you
Yeah.
and what I would put on a certificate for you. But also the overachiever would be somebody like that's already planning for the next year, like the theme of their classroom
Yeah.
and what they're going to do on the first day of school. And, all of these cutesy things, at least I'm thinking of on an elementary level. I'm not sure on a secondary level,
Oh
but
yeah, I'm
like,
all about all my cutesy little things in my classroom. No, we're not like, we're not knocking
no, 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 no,
any of
no,
these
no.
things, because
We were there.
we are, we will be. These are like kind of groups that sometimes teachers go through in the last week of school as like a different stage. Like I've already experienced the overachiever stage, where I'm looking ahead for next year. I'm planning out, stuff that I want to do over the summer, so that way I can have it ready to go before pre-planning and already get some of these things rolling, so that way that my classes work a little bit more seamlessly, or a couple of, PowerPoints that I want to
Mhm.
fix up, or a couple of test questions. I'm like, yeah, they didn't do so hot on those.
Or we're doing new classroom setups on our platform, that our online platform that we use, the digital platform. And so this is a chance if we wanted to redo our graphics and things
There
on
you
it
go.
that we
Yeah.
can, which, I'm honestly obsessed with. But anyway, but yeah, like Colby said, we go through these different stages. I feel like the first stage is like the overachiever, like the young teacher that's just trying to do all the things.
Yeah, they want to make sure that their border on their bulletin board is, they've already got it picked out and in their Amazon cart, and they're going to order it and go ahead and put it up for next year. Or they've already got the rosters of their class for next year, and they're sending out emails, and they're getting their summer assignments ready, if that is a thing. Y'all don't do that in elementary school, do you? Summer
No, the
assignments?
summer assignments are usually for fifth grade going to sixth grade.
Okay.
So the sixth grade sends down their assignments for them to do, but it's also those teachers who are getting their um, meet the teacher things
Oh
ready
yeah.
and like all of that kind of stuff. And I get in that stage, but more towards end of summer.
Yeah, like mid
Not
July.
like my brain is so fried right now from any sort of creativity. There's no way I could be an overachiever right now because
Yeah.
I'm just like too stimulated with all of the closing things that we have to do at the end of the year.
Yeah, all the babysitting. Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. I've written down a few things, but I have not started on any of them at all. But just while like ideas are kind of popping to my head, and I want to elaborate on some of those later. So I'll have those things there when I get back on, July 20 something or another. And I'll have those so that way, I can kind of get cracking on a few of those things. So now, in contrast to the overachiever, we have the complete opposite. We have the
The,
giver upper.
yeah.
This is like the dark side of the force. If the over that Why am I making Star Wars references? I don't even
I
know.
was about to say,
Yeah, this
stop
is
it.
the giver upper is someone who just kind of shows up at this point. They may or may not have took a shower that morning or brushed their teeth. They're rolling in, chugging a gallon of Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee that they got from the gas station 2 days before.
So I would say somebody that's like extremely burned out.
Yeah, with you.
Like
Yeah,
somebody who has given a teacher who's given them their entire selves and by the end is just completely done.
yeah, and usually this doesn't set in the last week. This has been something that's been brewing for probably since spring break.
Oh yeah.
In early April, and then they just had 2 months of just I'm nearing the end. I'm just trying to get across the finish line so I don't get fired from my job. Like I'm just showing up at this point. So that way there's an adult witness when the Lord of the Flies takes over and they
Yeah.
kill Piggy.
Yeah.
So if you haven't read that book, spoiler
You
alert,
just spoiled it
Piggy
for
dies.
everybody.
But I think at certain points in time as well, like we go through that giver upper stage. Now, if you go through it for too long of periods of time, that's how you get
Lose your
fired.
job.
Yeah. But I think we have those days, especially in the last week of school. Um, I experienced this on Tuesday because I woke up and thought it was like a Thursday, and I was reminded that it wasn't
That's
by
the
the
worst.
radio. Like
That
happy
what?
happy Tuesday morning. I'm like, wait a minute, it's not. I thought it was Thursday. Oh God. And at that point, like I don't even know what happened in class. I just was managing behavior and just telling kids to go sit down, and like your butt does not leave the and this is again coming from a high school teacher.
Well, it's the same way for me. Like this week and even last week, because we have field day and we have all those things. But, when you've dealt with certain kiddos and certain behaviors all year, and most of this second semester, I was on maternity leave. But of course, being on maternity leave doesn't mean that you're completely turned off from what's going on in your classroom,
Right.
especially when you hear all about it. Um, but like you get to the point of those behaviors where you just are like giving up, like as long as they're not killing each other and as long as they're not like being extremely disrespectful, I'm like, whatever, bro. As long as you're not hurting anybody, like I'm just to the point of like I'm giving up on having to deal with that over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, like I'm 1,000% sure that I had a group of kids that went to the bathroom 6 or 7 times in one class period so that they could just do like a vape train.
Whatever.
And I was like, you know what?
You do you, boo.
Yeah, like
If
I
you get caught,
Yeah,
Oh, well.
and it's like, and I'm not about to walk back up in there and in the bathroom and try to catch you doing it, because then that's like paperwork that I have to do, emails I got to send. At this point in time, like if you're trying to risk that stuff, that's how you get to not graduate and walk with your peers, is just being stupid on the last week of school. But
So it's on you.
right, and we'll get to the different types of students here in just a second. But we have one more type of teacher mindset or phase that we want to talk about, and that is the summer hibernator.
Hibernator.
Hib- hib-
Hiber
Hibernator.
Hibernator.
Words are hard.
Babe.
Yeah. So anyway, the summer
Hibernator.
hibernator, summer hibernator. Let me tell you about what this is first, and then I'll kind of tell you a little bit about how I had a little experience of this past week. The summer hibernator is this person who it's a little bit different from the giver upper. This is someone who they're just checked out to the point of like they're not even present. Like they have taken everything down in their room. There's stark blank walls. There's like maybe one or two pencils uh, left in the room. Their computer is already kind of put away. Like all of their personal belongings are they took them back home. Like this is someone who comes in already starting their tanning process for the beach. Like they're with their fake tan, they're rubbing it in, and they got bronzer everywhere.
Since when
And
do you know about bronzer?
I heard about it. Some girls during prom, I would come in and be like, "Why do you look like Donald Trump?" And they would tell me they're using
Stop it.
their fake bronzer tans and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, I'm also reminded of a movie called The Hangover that Bradley Cooper's character, he was a teacher, and the bell would ring and someone would come up to him like, "Oh, hey, Mr. Cooper, how?" And he's like, "Shut up, bro. Don't talk to me. I don't know you right now. The bell just rang and it's the weekend. Go away. Leave me alone."
Minus the stealing of money.
Yeah, minus the part where he was like raising money for like a mission trip or their field trip or something, and then he just pockets it all and then goes and
Goes to
blows it in Vegas
Yeah,
with his
no,
buddies
minus
on a
that.
bachelor
Minus
trip.
that.
Minus that part. I'm just talking about how he was completely checked out and it was like, "I don't know you, don't talk to me." And that's kind of tough too, because as a high school teacher, we have teachers that are like that hate going to graduation and doing all the things, and it was like, "I'm just here so I don't
Well,
get
nobody really
fired."
likes doing that
I
kind
mean,
of stuff.
I enjoyed it this past time because it was my kids that I had in my homeroom that were graduating, and I had them all 4 years, and so that makes it a little bit more special. And again, it's not about us; it's about them. And I know I can just feel the look that you're giving me right now, and y'all can't see this. But when I said that I enjoyed it, she just like snapped her neck. You probably heard her neck crack a little bit, how fast it was whipping over at me. Like, are you kidding me?
But I asked you last night about how was it, and you're like, "Oh, it was all right." I
Yeah, it was
mean,
all right.
like, so that to me is like not something like, "Oh, I look forward to graduation. Oh my gosh, let me get a picture with every single child that I've taught or came in contact
See, and
with." Some people,
those are the
those
overachievers.
overachievers.
Those are
We
the
know some of
overachievers.
those. You know who you are.
You know who you are. We see you on Facebook.
Cut that out. And we digress.
So yeah, the summer hibernator, I
It's just
think is
done.
just done. Like
Oh.
it's not so much that they've given up. It's like, no, I am ready to shut down my computer. I'm not even going to take my computer home. I'm not going to check my email.
I don't
I'm
do that
I'm
anyway.
not going to talk to any of my colleagues or quote teacher friends. Like I'm just completely done with this place. And I'm not saying that again that there are certain teachers that don't do this at some point in time or set in
I
these
think all
different
of us
stages,
do.
but I think there's a point in time where like, yep, I'm done. It's summer. Like I'm not checking email. I'm not talking. Even like if you have good friends at school, like sometimes you just don't want to talk to them because it's just like it's over. It's summer. Like leave me alone.
Okay, so we talked about the different types of teachers on the last week of school. Let's head into the different types of students.
Mm.
on the last week of school. Now, again, there can be an
Well,
array of categories for these types of students, but we kind of narrowed it down again to 3. So the first one would be the MIAs.
yeah, the missing in actions.
Yeah, the missing in actions. So what do you think? What type of kid would fit into this category?
So I think this one is a very interesting one because this doesn't pinpoint that one like achievement group. Like this is not, a low achieving student or a high achieving student. This is all of them. Like, and it honestly kind of boils down to like the parents, I think, because I think the parents they also understand the dynamic of the last week or the last couple weeks of school where there's nothing happening. So they'll be like,
Don't really
why even send my kid to
or
school?
don't even care what their kid
Or they don't
does.
even care what their kid does, especially in high school. Like, hey, you go to school, you don't go to school. Like, if y'all aren't doing anything and you want to stay home and play video games, like I literally don't care. Just don't burn the house down or invite friends over for a drinking fest.
Well, it's not just secondary, it's elementary too.
Yeah,
I mean, I've had several kids, one I won't point out too much, but it wasn't just the last week of school, it was the entire year
yeah.
that they were MIA. They would just show up just when they wanted to.
Yeah, and I think it's compounded too when you have those kids that are habitual absentees,
Mhm.
that it just gets really, really bad, especially when they know and you know and everybody knows that you're not doing anything anyway. So like now more than ever is a time for me to be absent.
Yeah, but what's also irritating is that they are MIA on mostly everything, but then once there's something fun that they know is going to
Oh yeah,
happen,
they're going to be there for
they're
that.
going to be there. So they're there for all of those things. But like, for example, we had our 5th grade celebration this year. We went to a skating rink. So that one specific student knew that. So they
They're
showed up that day
Yeah, I bet they were there early too.
and showed up on field day.
Yeah, of course.
But in the last 2 weeks did not show up 8 days. Like they came for field day that 1 week and then this
The skating
skating
rink.
thing and then that was it. So in a
Yeah.
2-week span only showed up to school 2 days.
I mean, and that's a whole nother podcast talking about
Yeah,
absences and how chronic it is right now. We're dealing with this.
as a
Uh, oh
countywide.
my gosh, and probably like nationwide because we don't want to make it not fun because talking about COVID and all that kind of stuff is super downer. And this is supposed to be fun and lighthearted with a comical twist. So maybe we'll make fun of absences later, but like, what are they doing at home? Like, okay, you're
That
not sick. We get it. Like, what are you doing then? Are your parents not working? Are you at home with your parents? Are
Well,
you
I want to
by
know what they
yourself?
do because apparently they make enough money to where you don't have to worry about it.
It's crazy. It's
Like,
crazy.
anyway, that's our soapbox.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
get
yeah,
on to the
yeah.
next
Let's
one.
shift
So,
shift to the next one.
those are MIAs.
All right, our next category of student. We were trying to think of a word for this one, but we sound super old and 80s and 90s with this one, and that
Oh,
is
well.
slacker.
Mhm.
The slackers. I feel like the principal from The Breakfast Club or Back to the Future when I'm like, you know what you are? You're just a slacker, just like your dad. That was Back to the Future, right?
Was it?
Yeah, pretty
I don't
sure.
know.
But yeah, those kids that like we pour so much into them and they're probably there every day,
Oh, yes. Those are the
especially
ones that are there every day.
when you want them to be MIA, they're
They're not.
they're not they're just IA. They're in action every day. And but you pour so much into them and you just want them to like
Care.
you want them to care, you want them to be successful and you want them to do the work themselves, but all they want is to have you do it for them or just give me the grade so I can move on. And unfortunately, that probably has happened too many times, and it's become this learned helplessness
I was about to say.
because by the time they get to me, as I really don't see this a lot in my freshmen because I teach honors freshmen, but in my 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, the slackers that I get, they're just messed up beyond all repair.
Well,
And
I mean, and I hate to say it, but I mean, even once they get to me, it's the same thing because in younger grades, depending on their academic ability,
Yeah.
a lot of things are done for them. And I just refuse to do that. If you don't have a disability that requires that sort of attention or modification or accommodation, I am not doing it for you. Will I guide you? Will I facilitate you? Absolutely. That is my job, but
Right.
I am not going to do it for you. And I think what really chaps my behind
Mm.
is the ones that are fully capable and who are smart as all get out, but they are the ringleaders of the slacker category
Yeah.
because they one think they're too smart so they don't have to do it, or they're just lazy and they want to avoid, and it's annoying, annoying, annoying.
And I think we want to make the distinction too, and separate, like what you were saying earlier about those kids that are special ed and have those special needs.
That's not what we're talking about.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, because you can have slackers that are
Absolutely.
that do have a little bit of a lazy bone, but we're talking about the ones whose entire skeleton is a lazy bone and they're fully capable of doing things, and they just like they don't care. They have a terrible work ethic, and it's like, dude, this is the last week of school. Like, I want you to just care as little as I do about you right now. Like, I don't care a lot about you right now. I just care enough about you to where I don't want to teach you again next year. So like, do these 3 assignments. Oh, you're going to sleep instead when we're literally not doing anything right now. Oh, okay. You're just going to play games in your Chromebook?
Well, at
Yeah,
least y'all
that's a
can
good usage of your time, dog.
that I mean, if they fail, they have to take the class again in high
Or summer
school.
school. Yep.
But like that's not the same for elementary. It's like you have to have so much documentation to prove that they need to be retained.
Yep.
And most of the time it's just pushing these little ones on just because,
For their social and not their academic.
and it's just
I think that's messed up.
it is.
I think that's
But
messed
that's
up
above our pay
because
grade and we
it
don't have
is.
any choice in doing so. So I'm not putting any effort into being mad or emotional about it because it
No.
is what it is. But it's really the ones that and have shown that they're fully capable, but they just don't give a ish about anything.
Them slackers.
All right, so the last type of kiddo that we came up with was a grade digger.
Oh yeah.
Now these are students who are the ones that are on the very last moment asking what they can do
Yeah.
to get an A,
These are the kids that
or
they have in their grade. Their second number is a number 9.
or even not even that. Even
Yeah.
like they're like, I have a B. Is there any way I can get an A?
That's a
Oh
big jump.
yeah. You could have done the work the past 9 weeks or more to get that grade up instead of waiting until, first of all, coming and asking after school when I'm in meetings or on my own time, asking what you can do or if you can redo a project to get a better grade. And I'm like, first of all, not this year because I was on maternity leave. And second of all, what were you doing the entire semester
Yeah.
or entire year?
Yeah, one of my favorite responses now that I've kind of adopted the past couple years is when they come up with the what can I do to get one more point, or what can I do to get some grades better. I'm like, well, you can invent a time machine and go back to the moment where you made that choice that I told you I was going to remind you about right now, and you can say, you know what, he's right. I'm going to go ahead and do this, so that way we're not wasting each other's time now here at the end of the year. Now, I am a little too nice sometimes when it comes to this. If I feel like that, like a kid, got met with some unfortunate circumstances, they've worked super hard all year. They've done really well. And then that last, like, final assessment, whether it's state testing or final, they were just having a bad day. Like, that happens sometimes. And so we'll kind of work something out.
But you know that about those kids
Right.
that, because you and I are both ones that we're huge believers in building relationships with our students. And because we do that, we know these kids in
Yeah.
and out. We know the kids that have worked their behinds off to get them to a certain point. And if they are, under by a little bit to get that A, then there's a difference between that one and one who has been a slacker
Yeah.
all
That's
year
right.
or has just decided I'm going to do whatever I want, but then I'm going to rush at the end of the year to try to get that A when you haven't really been, having that good work ethic the whole semester or the whole year.
Yeah, or how about the kid that they haven't done anything all year? We're not even talking about those B students. What about the ones that I teach in my Earth Systems class
Mm-mm.
who are failing all year and then miraculously pull out a 70 spot on? You would be surprised
It's
if I were to,
annoying.
yeah, if I were to bring up my grade book right now, you would be shocked at how many just straight up 70s I have. And these aren't any of my manipulations. It's all of their stuff. Like they do just enough to make sure they're hovering at that line. And it almost takes like talent
It does. They know what they're
to
doing.
be that big of a
They
slacker.
know the percentages and they know what they have to do to get a certain grade.
I think the funniest part too is when they send you like an email that starts off with, "Oh my god,
Sorry.
why did you point right towards the microphone to do that?"
I didn't
Yes,
mean to.
you whipped your neck back around and pointed it right at the mic. Jeez
Quit.
Louise. So anyway, laugh over there. Oh my gosh, got her all riled up now. But I think it's funny when they send these emails like, "My mom wanted me to ask you if I could do
Oh,
something
I
to
hate
get." It's
that.
like, "Your
My
mom wanted me
mom.
to?" Well, tell your mom that her name does not go on your diploma and that you should care. And also tell her, no, like, these kids sometimes are just clueless. It's like if you are a grade digger and you're listening to this right now, like there's a way to approach it. And that is to set up an email or come talk directly to the teacher and do it in a professional way and not send an email with no subject. With that's good grammar. And then all lowercase, like, what can I do to get my grade up? Like, nothing. I'm gonna
Be a
send.
good student the entire semester. How
Yeah.
about that?
So yeah, that's it. Last week of school. We're done. Well, we're not done yet. We
I
have
was about
two
to say we have
more
2 days of post
two
planning.
days of post planning, which let's be
Well, that's
honest.
a whole nother podcast.
Oh
What's
my
the
gosh,
point?
post and pre-plan. Well, pre-planning I see, but post-planning sometimes is like my grades are done. They've been done. My classroom is done. Why do I have to go back and sit in there and
Do y'all have a checklist? Because we have a checklist
yeah,
that
our whole
we have
county
to
has a
get
checklist.
signed off before we can
Check
leave.
out, check out for the checklist. Yeah, we have stuff that we usually have to do stuff like that. And that's just to make sure all of our grades are in and or we've done our technology kind of things, taking batteries out of stuff and all that so they don't corrode over the summer and cleaning up our rooms and all that. Um but yeah, what do you guys think? Like what type of teacher are you? Have you experienced some of these phases like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, the different larval and pupa state?
Ew.
I know it's lame and weird analogy, but let us know. Or are there any other categories that we're missing, or can you think of some other examples where you would fall into one of those or a different category, or about your students? Like, is there other kinds of last week students? Let us know. Hit us up at an email. Slide on in our DMs on our Instagram page. What would teachers say? Or send us an email at whatwoulteachersay@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening to the What Would Teachers Say podcast. We're excited about bringing you brand new episodes each week on Monday so that way you can start your week off right.
And remember, as this school year comes to a close, these famous words from Marshawn Lynch: I'm just here so I won't get fined. Class dismissed.